There are two sectors of India, space technology and atomic energy, which had been closed sectors. Now, under Prime Minister Narendra Modi, there is an effort to open the space technology sector and the atomic energy sector to private entrepreneurs. We meet one of India's important decision makers, Dr. Jitendra Singh.
Modi's New India, which will be Atmanirbhar India, where every Indian will have the pride to say that he is an Indian, to say that the product is Indian, and that also about all sums up the vocal for local mantra being spelt out very visibly and loud.
Space and atomic energy are both sectors where India has tremendous prowess. How will these sectors impact India, and how will these sectors help in the making of New India? India is changing fast. A new India is emerging. In the new India, science and technology is likely to play a key role. And among the sectors which will make new India shine are atomic energy and space. Under Prime Minister Narendra Modi, these sectors are being opened up to private sector enterprises. On this episode of Life and Science with Pallav Bagla, a close look at how these sectors are being opened up for startups and how they are going to help in make a new India. To explain to us the details of these new policies, we have with us Dr. Jitendra Singh. Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar, Pallav ji.
Welcome to the program. Dr. Jitendra Singh is a Minister of State in the Prime Minister's office. By training a physician, somebody has written half a dozen books, and he has written over 10,000 articles. We speak to him about the making of a new India where space, atomic energy, and his love for the Northeast sector. Dr. Singh, you are by training a physician. How did you become a politician?
Yeah, this has been a journey from one stream of science to the other stream of science, now that the politics is also known as political science. But that having said in a lighter vein, I think what is something worth emulating even from Prime Minister Modi is that to have a scientific temper is an advantage in whatever task you undertake. And I think the biggest example before us is Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself, who has a natural temper for science. And as I was listening to your opening remarks, the manner in which he's been successfully giving impetus to the space sector, the atomic energy, and particularly the space technology being diversified in various areas, I think is what is going to be the heart and soul of the new India, as you were referring. And I would rather put it in a single sentence that India is already emerging as a frontline nation in the world, and India's ascent to become a superpower will be via space sector.
And atomic energy.
And
we will talk about both because you have both portfolios. In space, which are the missions which make you personally proud of India's space program?
I think without having to think much, something which is going to make every Indian pride is our Gaganyaan mission.
Which is to send astronauts into space.
Yes, and I say so also for the reason because I have been also a writer and a creator for a part of my life. We started off our space journey from a very primitive level. And just imagine when Sarabhai and his colleagues and Satish Dhawan would have conceived a space program. We in India as a society had hardly any contact with the space missions or the space programs. We were actually singing nursery rhymes on moon. Chanda Mama Dur ke, Bade Pakaye Boor ke, all those things which we were, narrated to from our grandmothers as children. And that was the time when this set of young scientists were thinking of reaching moon. And also, let's not forget, it was as much as about 60 years back almost, that when we started off our space programs, some of the nations like Soviet Union, the then Soviet Union and America had already reached or were on the verge of reaching.
Correct. 1969 they were.
So it's been a huge jump, for which I think again the credit goes to the prioritization with which Prime Minister Modi encouraged these programs. And therefore, when an Indian human being is there in the space, is going to be a huge, it's totally an indigenous mission. Though we had an Indian earlier also, Rakesh Sharma, but the mission was not Indian. Prime Minister Modi made it very clear and obvious down the line that look here, these are the sectors which are not going to suffer the kind of negligence or under-optimal utility as had been under the earlier governments. And I think one of the evidence of this is that soon after taking government, because I was an eyewitness to that, I think we had been just about 2 weeks into the government in 2014, in the month of June beginning. Prime Minister was there himself at Sriharikota watching a launch.
He also went to BARC, Bhabha Atomic Research Center.
The launching of that PSLV satellite vehicle was to happen. We were all there.
You were there in midnight next to the vehicle. I remember that photograph.
That's a very interesting anecdote also, because the Prime Minister was to witness the launching next day and we had reached there earlier. So everybody would tell me this space department is a small department, what are you going to look after, etc. Dr. Radhakrishnan was the ISRO chairman.
Then.
So I said I had never visited Sriharikota, I had never known where is it all about. It's God's decree that I have been the privilege of being here. So he said, okay, I'll take you to the most forbidden site, the site of the launch of the vehicle.
Correct.
So he took me there around 11 o'clock in the night. And then I told him, I said, Radha, we should, I have made a principle for myself to learn one thing each day in my life. So what I have learned today is that to reach this spot, either one should be as great a scientist as you are, or one should be in politics and somehow become MOS space.
Or be a journalist like me. I have also reached there.
Yes, that's right. So what I'm trying to say is that the forbidden areas have been opened up by the personal indulgence of Prime Minister Modi. And that is going to give a huge fillip not only to the space programs, but also to the utility of space in the making of New India. For example, another very notable example is that about just, I think, 4 years back, it was at the behest of Prime Minister Modi that a 2-day brainstorming was held.
Vigyan Bhavan, which was held.
You were witness to the at Vigyan Bhavan, where the space scientists were made to directly interact with the representatives of each ministry, each department, to determine how best the space technology could be applied there, which had never happened earlier. We were amazed that there were so many experts in the railways who didn't know that satellite imaging could be used to detect obstructing articles, to avoid
unmanned
accidents,
railway
crossings, all these things. Similarly, today, space is virtually entered every Indian household. Space technologies are being used in the construction of smart cities, roads, buildings. Of course, telemedicine, tele-education already there. So I think this
Prime Minister Modi also made space enter everybody's wallets, because 2000 rupee note has a Mangalyaan on it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think this has happened in the last 4-5 years at such a fast pace, and it has made up for all the lapses of the past.
Now, one recent example where things go exactly as copybook was the failure of Vikram when it was trying to land on the moon. What lessons have we learned from it, and how are we correcting those?
No, I think at the outset, I would not also describe it as a failure from a scientific point of view, in the sense that we did manage to land, but let's not forget that most of such missions in the past were always unsuccessful in the first attempt. So we in the first attempt were not unsuccessful to that extent as have been the failed missions of some of the more advanced countries, including the US. So that is something we should not dishearten us or the space scientists. But now, of course, having learned from that experience, we are going to try this again by the end of this year. And this will also cut down on the cost of the Chandrayaan 2, because the lander is already there.
No, the orbiter is already.
Sorry, the
orbiter is there.
already
We
there.
just need to send a lander and
So
a rover.
only the lander and the rover will have to be
Correct.
launched.
For the space sector to grow, there is a need for a specific space law. When are you introducing the bill in the parliament?
I think you'll be glad to know that ISRO has actually prepared a draft.
India Science Channel was launched in the year 2019 by the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. The internet-based dedicated science web channel is being implemented and managed by Vigyan Prasar, committed towards science communication. The channel features science documentaries, discussions on current topics, interviews, and different programs covering the entire landscape of science and technology to make science popular among the masses.
India Science is a flagship project of Vigyan Prasar. And over a year and a half, we have produced more than 1,200 videos of different sizes, lengths, and are from different genre and for different domains for the people of the country. We've taken, we have spoken, we've gotten, we've dived deep into the realms of different domains of science and technology, and we have gotten news, stories, films, videos in almost every format that you can think of. OTT, for that matter, is a great platform that helps anybody to look for any news, any item, any video, any documentary at any point in time. All you need to do is to subscribe a channel for it.
One can also download India Science mobile app from Google Play Store or Apple Store to view this channel.
Now, among all these, there is this new effort at including space startups and the private sector. Why was there a need for bringing private sector in a big way into space technology?
See, one thing we must understand, that India is now vying to become a global competitor. We are already a part of the global world, and we are in fact on the verge of playing a lead role in the community of nations worldwide. And I can foresee very clearly that in the post-COVID world, India is going to be a frontline nation. So if we have to actually progress, grow globally, we also have to adopt an approach which has a global outlook. We cannot work in isolation, nor in silos. And we have to have the collective partnership of all the stakeholders and all the sections of professionals and society. So with that intent, we had to open up. I think it's amazing that most of the governments had learned to function in status quoist mold, and Prime Minister Modi has that courage and courage of conviction, and coupled with that, he also has the decisiveness to take, strong revolutionary decisions which are sometimes a little unorthodox, and he has shown that more than once. And it was with his concurrence and his personal indulgence that
He is a space buff, I have said so many times.
So exactly. So that is how now the space sector has been, as is being popularly said, unlocked. Unlocked. You had kept it locked. There's no reason keeping it locked. And we have been, when we are recently, I think, after that, when the when the mapping was
Correct. The new
also,
geospatial policy,
yes,
which
the
has come up.
geospatial policy also had a one ingredient which didn't sound that significant. Was that the self-certification would be enough. Correct. So Prime Minister Modi has sought to send out a message that, look here, we have to make India grow. For that, we have to make a collective endeavor. And for that collective endeavor, we have to learn to trust each other. I cannot ask you to get your certifications done through 101
Mar
Babus
lagwate raho.
and then also give your best. So let all be partners and realize our responsibility.
As minister who looks after space, how did you convince ISRO? They were kicking and screaming about this privatization business. They don't want to open up.
It's not so. Many of them realize the merit also. But some of them actually they had got into that kind of mindset over the years and they had been groomed like that they possibly thought that there could be certain apprehensions. But I think the new policy exercises enough safeguards and does not in any way compromise with the security of the nation.
But for any sector to grow, you also need legal provisions. And for the space sector to grow, there is a need for a specific space law. When are you introducing the bill in the parliament? And because that will also take care of liability.
I think you'll be glad to know that ISRO has actually prepared a draft.
It's been there for a while, sir.
Yeah, but we thought we would gather all the inputs and get enough time and have and proceed with a very open mind. So it's there in the public domain so that we could have the inputs from all, because you see, space and science is a subject which is too vast and too critical to be left only to the scientists. Now for me, for example, someone like Pallav Bagla is a better resource person than many from the science stream. That too because you have out of passion pursued this area for such a long period of time. You understand the nuances, the sensitivities, and you have very important input. So that's why we thought we should give enough time so that we have all the inputs. Jab matka bhar jaye, then we churn out and come out. But certainly we are on the job.
You're on the job. Now let's turn our attention to another department before we head towards atomic energy. You also have an affection for the northeastern states. And those are states where you have been trying to get science and technology into their system. Give me some examples where science is contributing to the development of our, as they say, our 7 lovely or 8 lovely sisters.
We had a huge input of science, technology and the high-tech mechanisms. For example, I'll give you a small example. Many of our projects in Northeast, because that is what the Ministry of Donor directly deals with, infrastructure projects, would get held up because we did not receive utilization certificates. And even if we did, sometimes we don't know whether to trust them or not because pul kahin ka hai, chitra kahin ka hai.
Bilkul.
Then I realized we had a space center in Shillong which was lying underutilized. So we got their services and started collecting real-time utilization certificates.
So did you do geotagging?
Yes,
photographing?
Geotagging and sometimes the functionary officials would visit there, pick up the photo and immediately upload it. So that was a real-time image. You would have an authenticated time date when it was taken and there could be no ambiguity about it.
Now this brings me to one of our important aspects which is going to be a deciding factor in our fight in climate change is atomic energy. Now many say in atomic energy India is already ranked as a frontline state. What is your opinion as a minister who's been working on atomic energy?
I think whenever the story of India becoming a frontline nation in atomic energy is written, what would be standing out in golden letters is that again some of the very unorthodox, path-breaking, revolutionary decisions taken by the cabinet headed by Prime Minister Modi. For example, one important constraint that we were suffering from was that we wanted to have more number of reactors and atomic plants installed, but we were short of resources. Correct. Again, the same kind of mindset working under behind a shroud of mystery, shroud of secrecy. It was this government and this Prime Minister who made sure that we have a provision for joint ventures. Now, for example, and to begin with, we are doing that with the PSUs. For example,
Public sector undertaking.
Yes, absolutely. For example, a new plant has to be set up. Now, we in the Department of Atomic Energy have the technical know-how, but we don't have the money and resources. For example, a PSU like ONGC or maybe Bharat Petroleum, which is a profit-making PSU, wants to invest. So let them partner us. So it will be a win-win kind of an arrangement. Sure. So that kind of thing happened only in the last 3 or 4 years.
If I remember correctly, 10 plants have been ordered in a fleet mode or conveyor belt mode.
Absolutely.
How does that help us?
That was also a decision taken for the first time after independence. Correct. In one go, 10 plants being approved by the cabinet. And there again, I think this is a true indication of what Homi Bhabha said when he launched this atomic program, because there was a lot of contempt against atomic experimentation in the wake of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which had happened just about 7-8 years earlier to that. Homi Bhabha went around retreating again and again, though nobody trusted him, that our atomic energy program will be for peaceful purposes. Nobody took him seriously. They thought he was just trying to camouflage. But today we are actually, this has been vindicated by the Modi government and by Prime Minister Modi. Today we are going to have nuclear energy as one of the important sources of energy in the coming years in India. And at the same time, the clean energy source.
No carbon free.
No carbon free. So this is going to be a huge peaceful utility of atomic energy. Plus atomic energy for radiation of the fruits, vegetables to increase their shelf life, etc. in the agricultural sector in a huge way. This has happened only now.
I'm told every second idli which people ate has some origin and link to the Bhabha Atomic Research Center, because the urad dal emerges from BARC.
See, what happens if you say this too loudly, because our people still need to be made aware, they might stop eating, that this would cause cancer. So that is one more where you know, we need support and help from knowledgeable people like you. Many of our new plants get held up because there is a local whispering starts that, look here, this will lead to radiation cancer.
Are Indian reactors safe?
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, after this accident which happened in Japan, Fukushima and all, there was a lot of apprehension in India as well. But we are much, much safer.
Now, one of our reactors, a 700 megawatt pressurized heavy water reactor, Indian technology, recently got commissioned, meaning it started generating electricity.
You're referring to the Gujarat
Yes.
Krapa. I must thank you. You have said what I should have said, because that goes in tune with Prime Minister Modi's Ahvan for vocal for local.
Correct.
So before I could articulate vocal for local, you have given me a cue. Indeed, that is one of the best examples of vocal for local. One of the best examples also of Atmanirbhar Bharat.
Correct.
A wholly indigenous setup, which is going to enthuse, all sectors also to reach the same kind of self-reliant capacity.
How is it like working with Prime Minister Narendra Modi? You work with him in the same office.
Yes, certainly. It's a great learning experience to work with a Prime Minister like him.
India Science Channel was launched in the year 2019 by the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. The internet-based dedicated science web channel is being implemented and managed by Vigyan Prasar, committed towards science communication. The channel features science documentaries, discussions on current topics, interviews, and different programs covering the entire landscape of science and technology to make science popular among the masses.
India Science is a flagship project of Vigyan Prasar. And over a year and a half, we have produced more than 1,200 videos of different sizes, lengths, and from different genre and for different domains for the people of the country. We've spoken, we've dived deep into the realms of different domains of science and technology, and we have gotten news, stories, films, videos, in almost every format that you can think of. OTT, for that matter, is a great platform that helps anybody to look for any news, any item, any video, any documentary at any point in time. All you need to do is to subscribe a channel for it.
One can also download India Science mobile app from Google Play Store or Apple Store to view this channel.
Why are there fewer startups in atomic energy? Because you're opening up that sector. There's a public-private sector reactor which is likely to come up. You have referred to that earlier.
Yeah, I think multiple factors. One, that these two sectors were kept away from the public gaze. As I said, as a student, I had a very natural flair for science, and that is why I never missed a small column news, even a remote corner of a newspaper. We didn't have the electronic media then, and learned that there was a place called Sriharikota. But my knowledge remained confined to that. So, as the proverb goes, eyes see what the mind knows. So, see, the minds were not aware. So, now that awareness about these sectors has begun among the youth. Second, the opportunity. Now, for example, as I said, space was functioning in a locked mode.
Both atomic energy and space were locked.
So now
hidden.
that process of initiating unlocking has also, sent out a signal. Third, we didn't have much of academic institutions. I'm glad to share with you that today our space institute in Trivandrum, which is now known as Trivandrum, produces graduates, because the exam entrance is along with IIT JEE. And the graduates who pass out from that center are of world class. They have 100% placement, and nearly 60% of them get jobs in NASA. So that is the kind of product. Now the youth are coming forward, but maybe the governments in the past also did not offer enough of opportunities and incentivization, and the public awareness was also lacking. For example, before the onset of electronic media, we didn't have people like Pallab Bhagla. So you are also, belong to the age of a new kind of a media, which to an extent...
I'm better known as a writer and a photographer, sir.
No, to give you a personal compliment, I would rather say, though that may be outside the theme of the... I also feel good to see persons like you, because in India we are yet to get into the phase of specialized journalism,
That is
which
true.
we had abroad even in the early 20th century. Like for example, in the Second World War, the reporting of the war was done by war journalists. Yes. It was not political journalists. We had a term called war journalists who were doing in 1940. Correct. But in India, even today, most of the journalists are journalists. Yes. So there are generalist journalists. So it's good to have a space journalist, an atomic energy journalist, because they also function as resource persons.
Thank you. So nice of you to say that. Now, one point I want to ask you as a physician. We've been through and are going through the COVID-19 pandemic. Do you think we've managed the COVID-19 pandemic well? Our fatality rates are low. We have vaccines which are being given.
No, I think the whole world is now accepting that fact. And again, the credit goes to two aspects which are inherent to Prime Minister Modi's functioning. A, his prompt decisiveness, which happens with conviction. And B, his preemptive decision-making capacity. For example, when he said we should have a lockdown, there were a lot of questions raised. Why lockdown? When many of the European countries were also not observing. And we didn't have a clue about what lockdown is all about. But when you look back at hindsight, and then some of the opposition leaders, after the lockdown period was over, they started questioning Prime Minister, why did you have lockdown? The corona was still there. But they did not realize, but the common man realized, lockdown was also a training period for us. How to, because pandemic management is also to a great extent at the self level. Today you see people walking all alone sometimes on the roadside and still using a mask. So that early lockdown, which was very thoughtfully decided by Prime Minister Modi, gave us an opportunity to train ourselves. And I would rather say, as they say in English, virtue out of vice or virtue out of adversity. This has emerged as an opportunity, and the manner in which India has been able to realize its unrealized potential. So that has given India as a whole and the nation as a whole the confidence about its abilities, which go beyond the COVID management. So these are the extra benefits also, extra COVID benefits. And that makes me believe and give me the confidence to think that in the post-COVID world, India is going to emerge at the top.
How is it like working with Prime Minister Narendra Modi? You work with him in the same office. Is he a tough taskmaster? He doesn't take holidays. Do you get to take any holidays? How many hours a day do you work?
I don't know how much to answer this question on camera, but see, broadly speaking,
You're smiling. It seems you must be happy.
yes, certainly, certainly. It's a great learning experience to work with a prime minister like him or someone, a boss like him, because it gives you the opportunity to learn a lot. Now, I would not say, though entire team of his is committed, dedicated, hardworking. But to use the word hard taskmaster will be little impolite, because hard taskmaster is the one who imposes hard work on you. He practices hard work,
Yes.
and therefore the others get inspired. So because he does not preach, he practices. So he preaches by practice. He doesn't deliver sermons. But when you see him working around the clock and never saying that he is tired, never also saying that he is short of time, you feel that you will be failing in your responsibility if you don't live up to those parameters. So that is the kind of conscious sense that
So
you
he
develop.
leads by example.
Absolutely, and inspires by example.
Now, there is much hope that with this COVID-19 pandemic, which has shown that India's science and technology can deliver, when can we hope to have a developed nation? Atmanirbhar developed nation.
I think our journey towards that destination has already started. Modi's New India, which will be Atmanirbhar India, where every Indian will have the pride to say that he is an Indian, to say that the product is Indian, and that also about all sums up the vocal for local mantra being spelt out very visibly and loudly.
Thanks a lot for speaking to us, Dr. Singh, finding time for
Thank
us
you,
in
Pallavi.
this busy schedule and explaining to us how space and atomic energy are going to be sectors which will play a key role in the making of new India.
Thank you, Pallavi. It was a great pleasure talking to you.
My pleasure. So we saw how a new India is going to be made based on inputs from science and technology, and two sectors, atomic energy and space, are likely to play a key role. Atomic energy offers carbon-free energy sources, and space offers an opportunity to explore and understand both the earth and the universe. Having skilled and learned decision makers like Dr. Jiten Singh, who is a physician turned politician, certainly helps in governance. The making of new India needs more skilled people like him to be available in the policy making sector. Certainly, a new India is emerging fast, where Atmanirbhar would be the key way of moving forward. Keep watching India Science.